Welcome everyone, first of all. So I wanted to share the practice today based on some of the teachings that come from Thomas Hübl. Maybe you know of him. He's a German teacher, like combining spirituality with psychology, and some of it really aligns how I teach anyhow, but just bringing a few concepts in of around the idea that when we get triggered, like how to, I talk about that a lot in the slow classes. This idea that the ability for us to stay present is in our nervous system, and that capacity to stay present when things get challenging or when we get triggered, we can build that capacity. And there's this saying that's going around these days that we've been actually, all of us, like we've spent hours on our yoga mats and meditation cushions, like these are the times that we've been training for. And I went into a fear spiral yesterday, like so quickly. It was just kind of amazing to witness. And then when I listened to Thomas's talk, it kind of made sense because the collective fear is affecting all of us. And so everything that we feel is a little bit magnified, and especially things around fear and anxiety. And so that's why it's important that there are enough of us like grounded in practice and building this capacity to then self-regulate ourselves. And then, us being able to self-regulate will feed back into the collective field and kind of help to start to stabilize that. So that kind of idea really resonated with me. And so these moments of triggerings, like I think we all wired differently. It could be around health, it could be around finances and money, it could be like the economical situation, ecological situation. So there's many ways that we can kind of drip out a bit. And it's kind of the first step of it is, let's keep it like really simple. The first step of it is to come out of the story as much as possible, and very simply like find something very simple that you can feel in the body. You're not going to right away try to dive into the feeling and anxiety itself, whatever that feeling state is. Like we need to calm the nervous system down first. Like we need to create these conditions where then the container is there that can hold whatever the emotion is that is moving through us. So I'll weave the other steps in as we practice. So it's not like a lecture, but we are in a very embodied way connecting to this. So let us come and find a seat, whatever seat is comfortable. Let me just say that for the practice today, might be good to have like a pillow. If you don't have a bolster, good to have like a pillow or something handy. You might want that. Or a blanket, like something that you can use for support. And then once you are settled, or once you kind of have your props around, then let yourself find a seat that's comfortable. And you've heard it thousands of times, but the very easy link to your nervous system is your breath. So when in that moment, for me, it was also important to name it, to know that now I'm in my fear spiral. And that already created more space and kind of distanced me away from my story, so naming it. But then landing towards my breath and bringing in the techniques that I know that will begin to downregulate the nervous system away from that freeze and collapse that is my conditioning. I go into a complete freeze mode. So let us resource ourselves right now in our breath. Let's keep it really simple. So simply sensing the breath as is, softening into the belly, and letting yourself follow your breath into your body. So there's a distinction between like thinking about your breath and actually feeling the breath, the sensations, the shape shifts in the body as the breath moves. And maybe even gradually elongating the exhale, just consciously making it a little bit longer. I'm not bringing any counting in right now, just the breath gets a little bit longer, the exhalation breath. Maybe there is a sigh that comes out through the mouth, like just kind of naturally let your body use the breath as a resource to the present moment. And then as we stabilize more of our attention into the body and onto the breath, let yourself notice any part of the body that feels more alive, like where you could kind of sense presence. Whatever is easy for you, whatever is available to you, any part of the body that you can very clearly sense. Often for many people, it's easy to begin to sense sensation in the hands. Or maybe in the belly. Or chest. And I here simply want to say that often when we are actually in that spiral, it might be more helpful in that moment to keep the eyes slightly open, because that also keeps us more in the present. But right now, let yourself do what feels better for this moment. So we're kind of alternating. We feel the breath, but we widening the attention a little bit more of the body. And maybe you are in a place where the whole body lights up with sensation. That's great. But make it really simple, really easy, like somewhere where you feel sensation. So we're grounding ourselves in this actual moment. We keep guiding the attention away from the loop or a narrative and into presence. And Thomas says it is in the presence, in the present moment, where the past gets integrated. So we establish that first. And then as an experiment right now, as you've landed here, like let yourself just inquire right now what wants your attention. Is there something now in the field of your experience that is kind of more in the foreground? Maybe it's an emotion, a story. And see if we now have more capacity, as we've just in a short moment established a certain sense of calm and presence. We have established this container that can hold whatever needs to be held. And maybe there's not there for you right now, not much. Then just simply keep noticing aliveness in the body. Beautiful. There's a few more steps to this, and we'll go through them and we'll play with this as we take the postures. So slowly letting the eyes open. And we'll start with a tiny bit of movement. So if you need to look, you could look, but walk yourself towards the back of the mat. Walk your knees over to the left and sit your right buttock on the mat. So we're all the way towards the back of the mat. So my mat is sideways, but you can have it lengthwise. And just take a look for a moment what the movement is that I'm going to be looking for. So I'm going to come and lie on the side as if I want to come into a twist, but I don't. So the right hand threads under, my head comes onto the ground. And the movement from here is kind of this unfurling, uncurling. So I'm going to start to reach the left hand forward and the left leg towards the back. I stretch the whole body and just decide how much you want to curl open. Maybe you go all the way to the back where the left hand reaches away, left leg, and then on the exhale, I'm going to curl back, left knee, left elbow coming closer to the center. And so if you need to watch, I'm doing the movement now and then slowly kind of clear up your space so you have a room to roll and curl on your back. And maybe you just stretch the arm and leg and it's a side stretch, or maybe you roll onto your back and open up more. And as you curl back on the exhale, really curl towards the center into kind of like a fetal position, curling in. So allowing for openness, however much the creature of your body feels comfortable with in this moment, and then curling in into that fetal position, protected, safe. And a few more times like this. Curling in and curling open. Make that movement pleasant. Make it yours. See if you can recognize also, like we often are invited to recognize, like how much openness right now feels comfortable. Can you sense when the body kind of goes more into that overwhelm? This is too much. Give it another few rounds. And then the next time when you're curling over onto that right side, pause there and bring your left hand in front of your chest and press yourself up to walk the hands back. You're going to stay seated with that knees pointing out towards the left. The hands are now going to walk forward towards the front, so my lower body stayed as it is. An option is to now take that top knee, left knee, and send it all the way towards the back of the mat. So if you know the name of the posture, it's the deer posture, deer twist. And this is where you might want something under the belly, like a pillow or a cushion, but it also already here, it's a posture. So my hips are pointing one way, and then I'm turning and rotating my shoulders the opposite way. So I'm in a twist. So you could stay here with the palms on the mat, or you could walk down onto your elbows, or then placing some props, being creative, something under your chest. So a pillow variation would look like. And then about 2 minutes, we'll stay in this twist. When you need to back up, come and take the elbows or palms onto the ground. When it feels like it's comfortable to lean in more, let yourself lean in more. Noticing where the body maybe is holding on unnecessarily, where you can bring in more softness. And let's go through those steps again. So we're kind of like building this capacity here as you, first of all, finding the breath and beginning to elongating the exhale. So exhale a little bit longer than the inhale consciously. Creating that link between the breath and the nervous system. Sending signals that you're not under a threat right now. When these stories run unchecked and kind of unconsciously, when we don't recognize this as a being triggered or being in that spiral, then that fear either will grow and become easily into an overwhelm, or another option is that we become more kind of distant and avoidant and disconnected. And what is asked of us in these times is to allow for vulnerability, the vulnerability of heart. And this takes practice. So Thomas was saying, when we stay connected to the vulnerability of the heart, this allows for the heart to stay open. Give it another few rounds. For a moment, notice which part of the body is most alive, where you can feel sensation very clearly. One more breath. And then begin to walk yourself back up. If you had something under your belly, just place it to the side for a moment. And before we do the other side, we're going to bring the legs forward. So you're going to swing forward. You can stay at the back of the mat. If you need a little bit of flopping of the legs, if the hips feel the last posture, then do that. And when you're ready, we're taking the butterfly feet, so the soles of the feet are going to come together. And before folding into a butterfly, we're just going to do a little movement again. So we're going to rock back and forth a few times. So movement into the spine, into the lower back. And again, this sense of heart open, and then curling in. Just a few more rounds. If you need more movement, feel free to stay with that for a little bit longer. When you're ready to come into a fold, let yourself curl forward. Similarly here, you can use something under the forehead if you have props for that. If you don't, then you could simply keep your head more leveled and not drop it towards the ground. Unless you enjoy that, then letting the head be heavy and there be a little bit more pull along the back line of the body as you settle in. I believe everyone here has practiced yin before, but just in case, remember there's no forcing, no aggression. When we stop in a posture, we stop at a place where we can soften and relax. We can find that relaxed, elongated exhale easily. There might be a certain edge, but there's never pain. There might be a certain intensity or discomfort arising maybe purely from the fact that we are being asked to be still. And so that's a really good ground to begin to build this capacity that I was talking about, the capacity to stay. Whether what's arising is positive or negative or neutral. And so now be your own guide in the practice. To return back towards the breath as a way to really stabilize the presence. More clearly landing in the body, connecting with the sensations of the breath. Staying with a certain part of the body where you can feel sensation. Where it's again easy to connect to something embodied, obvious. Or once we've established a certain stability or certain sense of presence, opening the focus up and keep noticing, like from moment to moment, what wants attention, what comes to the foreground. Your ability to hold what's arising. We'll give it another 5 breaths. Know that you always have the permission to come out of the postures earlier. And then slowly, slowly rolling out. Working yourself back up, and we'll take a little pause, but we'll take that pause while we already preparing for the second side. So swing your legs over to the right, very similarly like you did before. And we'll take our little pause just lying on the side. So I'm going to thread the left hand under. So preparing to do the curling, unfurling action. And then just take a little moment here, curl to the side, maybe your elbows are bent, the top elbow, forearm rests on the bottom, elbow and forearm, head down on the ground, and just give it a moment here. A rebound on the side. Let yourself feel the weight of the body and the weight of your bones. And then gradually, when you are ready to move, you can straighten the bottom arm right straight out from the shoulder. And then the top arm and the top leg are going to move away from each other. And then you're going to curl towards your back or all the way onto your back on the inhale. And then curling back to the side on the exhale. See how lazy you can make this movement. Let the head really roll on the ground. Soft through your joints, through your elbow, through your wrist, through your fingers. There's no like agenda or end point or goal other than just to feel each part of that movement and just recognize when to pause, when to start moving again. And this recognizing doesn't really happen on the mental level. It rises out of the body, rises out of the breath. And then see if through the movement there can stay this awareness of the aliveness in the body, the aliveness in certain parts of the body, a certain presence. Let's go curl one more time. And when you next time curl over onto your left side, pause for a moment. And then begin to press the top hand, right hand in front of your chest, your face, so that you can roll the upper body up, keeping the lower body as it is relatively, and then walking the hands so they face forward towards the front of your mat. And the top knee could now open, right knee moving towards the back. So you have 90-degree angles on the bottom leg and 90-degree angle on the top leg. That angle doesn't have to be precise. And then feel into the twist. Either stay with the palms down for a bit as the hips keep dropping and the spine is already twisting, or walk yourself a little bit lower, grab your cushion. And then for about 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, we'll stay in the twist. And this one should feel kind of quite yummy. We're not trying to right now create some sort of a challenge too much in the body. So see if you can sense that or use some more support if that's not the case. What I loved the most about Thomas's talk was his encouragement to feel into our kind of, he called it human interior first and foremost, before we start to overlay it with some philosophical or spiritual concepts. Experience ourselves as human beings first, which includes our fears and our anxiety and our concerns and stresses. As well as our inspirations and the beauty we notice and the excitement that we feel and the love that we experience, connection that we are capable of. When he talks about spiritual resourcing, he talks about presencing. And the way he defined presence was inner connection to the essence of life. Maybe that presence for now could be simply, again, that sense of aliveness. the feel of existence. And your spiritual resource, it lies in the ability to presence yourself, to sense that internal connection. Now give it another breath. And then we'll slowly walk ourselves up again. And same way, as you set your props aside, you're going to swing the legs forward to the top. Let's give it a little moment here. Just swinging your legs forward, just holding them still. And then one of my favorite things is to give you a choice. So if you enjoy butterfly, you could come back to another about 3 minutes of butterfly pose. My alternative to that is to do about a minute and a half in a squat. So not everyone enjoys squat. And then minute and a half in a forward fold. So you could adjust accordingly. You could stay in the butterfly the whole time. You could stay in the squat the whole time. You could stay in the forward fold for the whole time. So let us see that we can bring a little bit of our own individual practice into a led session. If you are coming into a forward fold early, just sense into it. You want to keep your knees bent or straight. And then going through these steps again as you notice your breath. What's most alive in this particular posture? What body part can you sense? We're about halfway through, so if you want to come to the dangling for the second half with changing in any way what you're doing, then do that. Remember, anything painful, let yourself adjust. Not all backs benefit from this forward fold, so if there's any back issues, like with the discs or anything like that, stay in the squat. Taking your time when you are in a butterfly, we're going to end up either on all fours in a child's pose, or in downward facing dog. So downward facing dog is the most logical if you are in that forward fold. So you could just walk the hands forward, walk the feet back, and if downward facing dog does not really feel like something the body wants at this hour, at this stage, then just drop the knees onto the ground and either settle into stillness in child's pose. So transition here if you were in a butterfly, or you could be on all fours and do a little bit of intuitive movement for the spine, for the hips, for the neck, for the back body, for the front body. Again, the choice continues. And then let us begin to meet on all fours, and the dragons have been coming to each sequence I make in these last week. So right foot forward, then we're coming into our lunges. So our hip flexors, which is the muscle group that these target, are the kind of the muscle that often holds fear, as this is the muscle that we use to run and walk. So run away from a threat, and they can hold tension when there's a lot of fear in the system. Maybe that's why they're coming through. So as always, you could take a dragon of your choice. I'm actually going to do the one where I place the hands on the inside and walk the right foot out towards the left. So those of you who have practiced yin and you have different dragon that works for you, then feel free to modify. I actually like to stay higher up, even though I can bring my elbows down. I get a better stretch here, but it's totally up to you. You could bring something under your elbows so the ground comes a little bit higher up, or you could bring the elbows all the way down. Turn towards the sensation, so learn to notice what wants to be heard and seen and felt. So first there's the physical layer in postures, which is most obvious and usually accessible for all. Where do you feel this posture? Like once we have a good sense of the body, we've established a stable, steady breath, we could begin to inquire, widening that focus and noticing, what's needing to be held right now. Give it another breath here. So about 2 minutes in the dragon. You could, for the last 5 breaths, the right knee could drop out towards the right. The sole of the foot peels off the ground. So if you like that variation, we call it winged dragon. Then for the last 5 breaths, you could take this. And then we slowly release, and the rebound is your choice again. So come into stillness at the back of the mat, maybe on the belly or in child's pose. Your options is to move, gentle, subtle movement on all fours, or if down dog speaks to you, then that could also work as a counterpose, something a little bit more dynamic, more young-like into the yin. And we will actually continue on the same side. So I'll weave another 2 postures for that right side. So we had the right foot forward. When you are ready for the next shape, feel free to take a little bit longer in the rebound if you need. We're actually bringing the right knee forward. So right knee to the right side of the mat. Back knee walks backwards. It's totally okay to roll over onto that right side, so you don't have to square your hips perfectly. But if you like a variation where you wedge something under that bum and that gives you the best type of a stretch, then feel free to do that. I invite you to stay in the upright variation of this, so we call it swan pose. Staying in the upright variation for the first minute, but just notice if it works for you. If it creates too much tension in the lower back or in the buttock, feel free to come down onto your elbows, releasing to the sleeping swan earlier. But if you can, let's include a moment in a back bend. So here, releasing the lower half of the body into the ground, the bones, and the muscle. And then maybe sensing a little bit more lightness and spaciousness in the upper part, around the heart and lungs, around the neck and shoulders. And as always, if this variation works, then stay longer. Whenever you feel that call to come lower down into the sleeping swan variation, then do that. This one can be an intense posture for some hips, so similarly, coming out earlier is an option. If you have knee issues, so if that right knee is complaining, do the posture on the back. So I'm doing it now. So if you need to see it, look up onto your screen. So right ankle over the left knee on the back, threading the needle pose. And what if here in the container of this posture, in the container of this practice that we're exploring right now, you would look a little bit more towards what is your emotional state right now? Can you sense the state of the emotional body? Is it happy or sad? Is there overwhelm or numbness? And the important thing to establish here is like we're not looking for anything specific, and there's no shoulds, like there's no judgment. We're simply confirming what's there right now. And in moments where there is fear or overwhelm, and we've practiced these steps enough, we are able to establish this presence and calm the nervous system. then it is the presence that helps to digest the overwhelm, the fear, the anxiety. So it is the presence that helps to integrate the past that's arising. Now give it another breath here. And as we arise, this time I'm going to invite us all to walk up, to roll over onto that right hip so you can come all the way onto your back as a rebound. So we straighten the legs, we lie onto the back, and we haven't taken a nice long on the back rebound, so let us savor this. And as always, you could keep your legs straight, keep the soles of the feet on the mat, with knees maybe resting against each other. Maybe accommodate the lower back. That often feels nicer if the lower back gets tense. And so feeling the right side of the body, the sensations on the right side of the body, the feel of the right side of the body. And then the left side of the body, the sensations on the left side of the body, the feel of the left side of the body. And we'll stay on the back for the next posture, and we'll keep with the right side of the body. So we'll take the half moon. We're going to walk the feet over towards the left, so they're going to shuffle, both hips stay on the ground. And then option is to shuffle the upper body over to the left a little bit as well. Bringing the arms up above, if that works for your shoulders, finding the width of the arms, or maybe holding the right wrist. So play with it. And then either crossing the ankles left over right or right over left, or not. Here it is easier to begin to sense effective gravity on the bones. Real sense of dropping the resistance. So we start to yield. Our resource from the ground, from that sense of connection to earth.
Give it another. And then coming back to the center.
And let's pause there for a moment as well. Once more, maybe more keen awareness travels through the right side as a way of an exercise for the mind to travel to different parts of the body to find sensation, that sense of aliveness, right side, left side. Both sides together. And then as we begin to transition to do the opposite side for those three postures, then maybe you want to put the knees in, maybe there's a little bit of rocking action on the back. That feels good. Eventually either roll over for easeful transition or rock a little bit backwards, gaining that momentum, and that will rock you up to your seat. And we swinging the legs to the back and then changing over the left leg, coming forward to the left side of the mat and finding your dragon posture. So we'll start from there. The back knee walks back. Maybe you need to pad the back knee. Find the starting point. Find the starting point. Again, where that easeful exhalation sends a message to your nervous system that you're not under a threat. So that the structures of the body slowly begin to trust and let go. And maybe on this side we explore our ability to notice, mindfully witness our mental state, the state of our mind. How can we do that with the greatest compassion and not a hint of judgment? Whether the mind is racing or jumping around, or maybe it's calm, maybe the mind is blank, maybe it's open, maybe it's spacey or spacious. Just recognizing. Thomas Hübl uses confirm what's there. For the last 5 breaths, we had this option to point the left toe slightly out, then drop the knee out to the side. Just changes the target area a little bit so that you might feel it more in the right buttock or left buttock or inner thigh. Just a few breaths for this, almost kind of like preparing you for the next posture. And then we'll take a little pause, 5-6 breaths in a rebound of your choice, either some movement or stillness or down dog, as you feel the residues of this particular posture. More and more checking your capacity to
Notice the physical sensations, the emotional state, the mental state. So that we can take this ability to check in on our inner environment. So that we can catch ourselves, when are we actually in overwhelm, or when are we disconnecting? And finding presence. And then let's
prepare to come for this one pose with the left knee now coming forward, left side of the mat. Set it up and know that there was this variation to already come onto your back, and to now left ankle over right knee, threading the needle. If it works, let's have first minute where we almost like combining a Sphinx pose or seal pose with the swan pose. So there's a back bend here. Feel free to stay longer upright or move at any point, moving down onto your elbows, supporting yourself again for that longer stay here in a way that relaxation is possible. So it is not only past that gets integrated in that ability to be present and connected, but it's also where the future is born. So from that deepened connection to the essence, to the life as it moves you through you in each moment, our true and authentic steps and actions are sourced from that space. I often word that space actually the space of yin, when we pause, when we're able to reflect and slow down. A yang, an action is born out of yin. Out of a place where we're not forcing or trying to make anything happen. Let's take another 2-3 breaths in this one. And then again, we'll slowly release onto our backs. Taking that rebound. So rebound first, lying on the back, either leg straight or feet on the mat. Sensing the left side of the body, awareness of the left side of the body. Right side of the body, the sensations along the right side of the body. And then half moon for the other side. So we're going to keep finding sensation on the left side of the body. So it means that the feet need to walk over to the right. Upper body shuffling as well, and then arms find their place. The final step on the mindfulness practice here would be to begin to sense awareness itself, like that, where you're noticing from. Maybe sensing some of the qualities of awareness, that backdrop of everything out of which that human experience is rising out of. That very ground of being. Some sense it as stillness or silence, spaciousness. I often describe it as leaning back when we looking our experiences, what we can perceive. It's almost like we leaning in or stepping in or zooming in, and that's the humanness. And as we begin to sense into the beingness, then there's like a leaning back or a zooming out or a stepping back without losing the intimacy. Maybe there's a sense of melting of the body. As you sense the outer space and the inner space. And the more we soften, relax and surrender, there begins to be this merging of the two. Our sense of self more like a field of sensation. And then we'll slowly come back to the center. We'll release, bringing the legs back, arms back. Let yourself feel again for the awareness to travel along the left side. Right side. And then the whole body, the whole body, the whole body, a field of sensation. Or more and more, yourself as a sense of presence and aliveness. And then we'll have time for just a short something symmetrical, I'd say. So for my body, happy baby would feel good right about now, holding the soles of the feet, the heels. So see if that works for your hips at all, for your lower back. You could simply hug the knees in or hold on to your ankles here. Or simply holding the legs and arms up, kind of, sometimes I call it the dead bug pose. If there's anything else symmetrical, like what means that both sides of the body are doing the same thing that you feel like you would like to do for the next kind of 2 minutes before setting yourself up for Shavasana, then feel free. And if you're ready for Shavasana already, then get comfortable. And so, as always, if you feel like you would like to stay in the resting pose longer, then feel free to either mute your computer or even leave the meeting and take a longer Shavasana, longer rest. We have time for about 6 minutes. So that's how long I'll hold you. So as always, oh, how cozy, you are sharing a blanket. That's lovely. So covering yourself up, maybe something to cover the eyes. Something under the knees. For the nervous system, there's also a trick, a little bit of a weight on the belly, like a folded blanket on the abdomen, is something that also helps to settle the nervous system. So if anxiety is something that you're dealing with, you could try that. And then we'll just take a quick journey through those steps as you settle, the body settles onto the ground and you simply connect to your breath a little bit more clearly once more. Follow it into your lower abdomen. And just for 1 or 2 rounds, really feel your exhale long, really smooth and steady. And after you've taken those exhales, then begin to let go of the control of the breath as much as possible. can you sense now a part of your body that is easy to connect with? Maybe now that we've been scanning the body from all angles, it's easy to feel the whole of the body. And if not, then find something that is really simple for you. Palms of the hands, or the belly, or the feet. And as we're getting a good sense of the body and we feel the nervous system settling, the breath is calm and steady, just a glimpse of what's present. Is there an emotional state that you can notice? What's the speed of the mind? Simply noticing, no judgment, no shoots, no control, no fixing. And then almost feel like you're dropping even more. You're leaning back. What is actually aware? Where are you looking from? Turning towards that seeing itself, that witnessing itself. That spaciousness within which that inner perception arises. See if you can rest in that spaciousness, eventually as that spaciousness. Resting in stillness as stillness. Resting in presence as presence. So gradually, if you're choosing to come out of Shavasana right now, then your breath could get a little bit longer and fuller, comfortably so. There could be some little movement or bigger stretching happening. If you feel like staying as you are, then totally up to you. I always recommend when transitioning, rolling over to one side first, and kind of curling over to that fetal position as a halfway point, and then a nervous system friendly way to slowly find your way back to a seat. And we actually have one more step, what an important step to our guide here that we've been exploring. So if you still can bear another minute or two, then coming to your seat. So our first step is what we do individually. We learn to self-regulate, and with practices we build this capacity in our nervous system to stay present or to find presence. And sometimes we're not able to do that for ourselves, and there's also co-regulation where we need to talk to a friend or someone that can hold space for us. And our nervous systems have this ability to co-regulate when we're able to simply hold presence for someone as they tell us how they're feeling. And then here collectively, even though we come into this space through screens, Thomas also talks about this collective coherence, this collective field that is healing. So see if we can tune into each other for a moment. Maybe you need to imagine, maybe you have that capacity there to feel the other people on the call in this space with you. Partly to recognize that possibly whatever you are feeling, someone else is feeling as well. Especially in these times, we kind of are in a very similar predicament, all of us. And so he is talking about this ability when groups come together collectively and attune to themselves individually and then attune collectively, a healing field being created that starts to help to stabilize this collective field of fear and anxiety. So just for a moment, I just wanted to mention that and bring that in if that resonates with you. Or even being open to the idea that us gathering like this and practicing individually, but in a group like this, will have a rippling effect. I get a little goosebumps when I feel into this. Beautiful, and then let's seal this session. Maybe the hands come to prayer, maybe they rest on your lap, maybe they connect to your heart or belly, sense into it. We'll send one Om out into that collective field, I from my space, you from yours. So if you're joining in with me, then let's empty the breath out together, exhaling, and then drawing it in and singing. Namaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right.